Welcome to another episode of Bringing Down the Grindhouse, a podcast where we discuss horror in media. And tonight, light your lanterns, do not drink the Kool-Aid, and deny your invitation as we dive into The Invitation. I'm Mitch.
I'm Murr.
I'm Justine.
And I'm Jonathan.
Colts.
Yeah. Colts are fucked. Sometimes. Or actually probably always, actually.
Yeah, majority of the time. But it depends on what you define as a cult.
Yeah, really, though. I mean, isn't that... I mean, because if you're in the cult, you don't think you're part of a cult.
We're part
Usually
of a
not.
community.
Usually not.
You're not. Yeah,
It's
you're not.
a community, not a cult.
Community. Yeah.
That's what they want you to think.
I just think of that Frank Ocean line. It's a cult, not a clique.
Dang. Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Accurate description of LA.
Oh, yeah. There's literally all of the people involved in film are involved in a cult, whether they realize it or not. It's real.
And
So,
sometimes it's more culty than others.
Yeah.
I've heard my fair share of human sacrifice stories.
Yo, that conspiracy is something we need to discuss at some point. About all the celebrities eating people, like the cannibalism.
It'd be a good topic for our new segment
Right.
that's coming up soon.
Oh, yes. Also, this is the first episode of the new season.
It is.
Woo!
It is. So
Season 3?
no, well,
Call it season 3.
Season 3.
we're gonna call. Yeah, let's go with season
Season 3.
Yeah,
Season
it's season
3.
3.
Season 2 happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just didn't tell you. But it's fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah, so this new season, we're going to be looking at a lot of different broad topics across different genres, but as well as sticking to our bread and butter of horror.
Yeah, we're going to be making a series of sub-segments for the show in addition to our main podcast line with we're doing the
We keep finding ourselves
horror
wanting to talk
media.
about other things.
Yeah, I think there's a sci-fi segment coming up.
Yeah.
There's a conspiracy segment. There's a monsters. There's a cryptids.
Yeah.
There's video games.
Mm-hmm. I'm working on that. I want to do a stream of me playing Alien Isolation so that people can watch me poop myself
That'd be dope.
the whole time.
Maybe some anime here and there,
Be sweet.
because our weebs care about it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that we have not touched a lot of anime.
There's a lot of horror
Because there is a
anime.
lot
I'm
of
pretty
horror
pissed
anime
about
that exists.
actually. I have
And
a few good
we all watch a
recommendations.
lot, so this
Yeah.
is surprising.
Bunch of weebs.
But yeah, we're going to be looking at like more newer films as well as a little bit more of the classics. Just a lot of stuff that people want us to talk about that is coming out and making them be like, where the fuck is the episode, bro? So it's coming. We just got to watch it.
Yeah.
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 I give myself a couple hours every week to watch shit. You just have to wait. Sorry. I'm slow. I'm a turtle.
You're a Taurus.
Well,
That's fair.
yeah. We got
Real.
2 Tauruses on this podcast. They take their time.
yeah.
And this Gemini's too unfocused to actually get anything done. But Libra, what's up with you, huh?
He's just trying to hold it
Just
all together.
vibing.
He's just vibing.
Vibing.
He's trying to hold it all together.
You know, I mean, with this whole discussion going on, maybe we should turn to Murr and be like, give us some production notes on this 2015 movie.
Yeah,
Wow,
so
wow.
back to the invitation.
Yeah.
2015 feels like forever ago, which is
Oh,
weird.
yeah. It is weird.
It was forever ago.
Yeah. Here in 2022.
Oh, whoa.
Last year felt like it was 10 years. It felt so long.
Yeah.
We're out of that shit now and into the future.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Talking about an old movie from the past.
You know what? I feel like the invitation is somehow it's still relevant, and it's kind of creepy that it's still relevant.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about why.
So The Invitation, just like Mitch said, it came out in 2015. It was directed by Karen Kusama. And if you don't know her, we have talked about one of her films prior to the past. She directed Girl Fight as well as Aeon Flux, but she's most known for doing Jennifer's Body.
Yeah.
And then she also did Destroyer a couple years later. After The
Destroyer, people have to
Invitation.
go watch that movie. I'm not going to tell you anything about it. Go watch it. It's a really fucking good movie and highly underrated.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Kusama, like, she didn't really have that much, like, backing, so she had to look for outward sources for budget on this one. But the film does star Logan Marshall Green, who we have also talked about on a previous episode. He plays the main character in Upgrade. And I was telling John, it's just fun to see Logan Marshall Green get his wife taken from him and everything we talk about.
Oh, no. Honestly,
Yeah.
that's literally the plot of the other movie we talked about. And you're
Yeah.
just like, oh, damn. So now in this movie, you get to see him be a cuck.
Yeah,
You just
basically.
Dang.
Just kidding. He's not a cuck in this movie, but he might as well be.
They're just, you know, man, you look like a real like sad guy who would be really sad that your girlfriend's gone. Like in every movie, though, typecasted.
The most fucked up premise of just that his kid spoiler, his kid fucking dies like way before the movie even starts, and then his wife is just like denying it and joining a cult with her crazy husband, and they're like, let's fucking murder every one of our friends.
Oh yeah,
So
super fucked.
it'll work. It's fine.
And the ex-wife in congruence with this is played by Tammy Blanchard. She plays Edie or Eden. We also got Michael Huseman who plays David, but I recognize him as the main character in The Haunting of Hill House,
Yep.
the Netflix series.
Yeah.
He plays the main guy that's a writer that is just a joke of Stephen King. Basically, where they're like, I love your books. And he's like, yeah, it's all real, you know? And they're like, no, it's not. What are you lying? But he plays David in this. This was the same year as The Haunting of Hill House came out. So he was just doing horror that year.
Yeah, that's cool. You should also note that the writer or one of the writers is Kusama's husband. He's often worked with her on her films and usually co-writes with one of his buddies.
Yeah, it was also co-wrote with Matt Manfredi.
That dude, Manfredi.
Yeah.
I feel like he doesn't get nearly as much credit because he's usually a co-writer with her husband.
Okay.
But they usually will write things together and then Kusama directs it, which is kind of dope.
That's really sweet.
Yeah. Yeah.
That warms my heart.
But because Kusama is at the head of most of the films, people will usually not fund it, which is fucked.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I think we were talking about this, that everyone really just knows her from Jennifer's Body.
Right.
And after that dropped, no one cared.
Well, we talked about it on the episode when it first came out, not popular. But then several years later, they revisited it, and they're like, actually, people were not prepared for this film when it came out because of the feminist ideas that we saw in it, and it's become a cult classic.
Yeah.
I think the same could go for this movie as well, The Invitation.
Right.
Because we didn't really even watch it until this year, did we?
It was
technically 2021.
Right. Towards the end of last year, I had wanted to watch it because I had done a few reports and essays and stuff for school on Kusama, and I was like, okay, I need to watch The Invitation. I watched Destroyer like not long before that. But The Invitation was something that got looked over because people, or critics, mostly men, were saying that they felt the movie was incomplete or that it didn't really bring anything new to the genre. And so they were usually criticizing it, saying that it wasn't anything special and that it was too slow.
I mean, we were watching it prior to the recording, and it took an hour in before things were picking up, but it's a slow burn, and that was the style that they were going for. With it.
Yeah, she definitely was going
I think
for
if
that.
this movie was just a movie about a cult killing, then it would be different. But it wasn't meant to be an action movie. This was supposed to be more of a psychological thriller, and that you're put in the role of the character and experiencing this anxiety that's building up throughout the whole encounter.
Yeah, I want to dive into that, but I'm going to wrap up on notes real quick. This premiered in South by Southwest in 2015, and
actually did really well at South by Southwest.
Yeah, but it didn't do good at the box office. Holy shit.
Yeah, they lost a lot of money.
The budget was $1 million, and I'll end it off with it making $354,000. It was a flop due to the distribution.
The reason why specifically was because it was privately funded, so through like a few different people who donated money. They kind of left her alone while she was making the film, so they didn't have any final say on the editing. When she brought in the final film to show it, the people who were going to do distribution cut it like nearly in half. So when the movie was getting released, that's why no one ever heard about it, because it didn't get sent to all the theaters that it was supposed to. It got like a limited release, and then it went straight to DVD. So they lost money on it.
They're just like on their own little island, like, fuck, we have this film done and no distribution, basically.
Yeah, there's been this kind of weird thing surrounding Kusama, which is something similar that happened to like Bigelow. She's one of the other like famous directors who was making movies, and she was often having her funding cut like really privately or quietly by one of the executives that would be a part of the films, and they usually did this because they thought it wasn't good enough, and then it would get released and then always fall into some sort of cult status. So running theme.
We'll have to see if this will happen with the Invitation going into the future.
It did have a lot of highly rated reviews from fans. Like people did like this movie when it came out.
It's always the critics.
Right.
We're living in a world now where like the dollar is like I guess you could say it's like the goal in mind. How much money am I going to make off of this?
Absolutely.
We don't have
Marvel
risk
movies.
takers in like Hollywood or even in like the music business anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, is this the same type of shit that's been getting hits before? Sweet, then we're just gonna keep rolling with that. Or we want to do something different. Sorry, buddy, that's a little bit more money than I'm willing to put up for this.
Right. I mean, you just think about how all of these award shows go. The Grammys, the Academy Awards, the Oscars. It's not necessarily a measure of your artistic integrity and what sort of things you've pioneered or anything groundbreaking you've done. It's really more about how much money did your product bring in. And we'll give you a little status award for that, for giving us a lot of money in return.
We want to make sure we have a safety net.
Exactly.
So we're going to make a 7th or 8th Transformers movie, right?
They really did go hard on those Transformers movies when it first came out. But that's because, wow, I'm forgetting his fucking name.
Michael Bay.
Michael Bay. I like pushed him out of my mind because I was like, I do not want to fucking watch a Michael Bay movie. But you know what? Michael Bay is now turned into a director like Zack Snyder, where you should know what you're expecting when you go in to watch a Zack Snyder film. It's not going to be serious. It's all action. It's huge. And if you do that, you'll enjoy the movie. Otherwise, you really shouldn't be looking for some analysis on anything they make, really.
Right. It's just money talks, right?
They make a lot of money making these films. Like that zombie film we watched not long ago. What is it? Army of the Dead? Which is actually an enjoyable movie if you know that it's not serious. Otherwise, you're just kind of like, I mean, I guess maybe Wonder Woman was an exception to that. Like the first Wonder Woman movie.
Segment.
Yeah, we'll discuss it.
I'm going to segue over here. What's up, Mitch?
What's up, dude?
Talk about the plot.
The plot?
Yeah.
The plot? Oh, yeah.
So to break down what the invitation is in all of it is you've got, I'm forgetting the name of some of these characters because I just watched this movie. We got Will. There we go. Yeah, Will. His child has died in an unfortunate party accident, it seems, with another child.
Another kid hit him with a bat
and killed him.
And just killed him like that.
Fucking gnarly.
They didn't really go into too much
I kind of like
detail.
it being vague, though.
Yeah, it was pretty vague.
I mean, and then you have, so he's, and then he gets invited to this party with all of his friends. It's like 2 years later, I want to say.
Yeah, his wife left him after.
After the whole.
And
thing.
she ran away and went to some sort of cult in Mexico, and then comes back married to this Charles Manson-looking yuppie.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, David.
Yeah,
David.
It's kind of fucked too because he has to go to this party in a house he used to live in.
Yeah.
With her.
That's so weird. Yeah, and then they bring that in too, where he is expecting doors to be in certain locations and they're not there, and there's bars on all the windows and everything. And
those bars look really pretty, though. Just saying.
They are really pretty bars.
It's a fancy version of your bars and windows in like ghetto neighborhoods.
It's a very fancy trap.
But they also live.
There you go. Yeah.
They live probably in the hills, the Hollywood Hills.
Yeah,
which is
I'm
a very affluent
assuming
neighborhood.
they did.
Not somewhere you'd expect to see bars on windows. That's the place you see the all like glass window walls and houses.
Yeah, just like you throw a rock and everything's broke.
Pretty much.
That's actually a really good point, Mitch. They kind of set it up to be a trap and specifically added in measures where you could not get out of the house.
Instead of doing like those weird like prison bars that they put on like probably like orphanage homes or something like that, I would imagine, to keep kids
the
inside.
Wrought iron.
But yeah, exactly. Instead they're just like, oh, it's very nice and leafy and floral looking. This isn't to trap you. This is to make things pretty.
I mean, they even bring it up in the film because David is seen multiple times locking the doors.
Yeah, so I feel like the locking of the door was probably, we already knew the dinner was weird. Like when they got there and everyone's acting weird, you get the awkward hugs. But when he locks the door and Will is really like, why are you locking doors? That's kind of the first moment you get like a bit of anxiety for the film, which then just ramps up as the film goes through it.
There were several times where I would hear dialogue from two certain characters. I'm like, I would have fucking left right there.
Yeah, there's moments in this film. This really presses the idea of how, like, where's your comfort zone sort of at, and whether or not you would like move from that. So that makes me think about the questions that I had for you guys for the film, which is going to be, how do you think the tension was brought about? Like, what did they do in the film to make the tension get higher and higher, and like what really drove home that feeling of anxiety while you were watching it?
Well, I would say a lot of it is in the subtle moments that happen. Like you said, this is a very slow burning movie, and so there's not a whole lot of obvious, exciting things that are going on, but definitely the overall tension when they first arrive is definitely there. Most of these people haven't seen each other in years, and all of a sudden they're being invited. But I think probably the one moment that really started to turn the tables was when they played that video for all of them. It was one of their, I don't know, cult training videos, and their doctor guru guys talking about transcending death or something like that. And there's this woman who's like on her deathbed, literally, and they show her passing away.
She looks like she's in her mid-30s.
Yeah.
She's very young.
She looked maybe sick, like she had cancer or some sort of poisoning. I was thinking at first cancer, but then considering how the movie went, possibly she voluntarily was taking a slow-acting poison.
Right.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't think about that. Because we really don't know why she's dying, or if she was, or if they had voluntarily taken something that would kill them in front of everybody.
Right, because I imagine something about their teaching has to do with like absolution and reaching some sort of ascension. And by doing this, voluntarily giving your life and also taking the lives of others, which would happen in that moment if she did take some sort of poison.
True. I hadn't even considered that. There was a lot of things in the film that I didn't notice the first time I watched it. It took several viewings of it to be like, oh, wow, they were very direct about the lines that get delivered, and then things that are happening like in the background or
like certain characters
times.
like touching each other or something.
Yeah, there's a scene later in the film where he sees the wife go out to her room while Will is standing outside, and it looks like she was probably checking the hills to see if other people had lit the red lantern yet.
Yeah.
And that's probably what she was doing. She was going there to check it, but didn't know that he was watching her. And then he actually sees the husband go out with the red lantern at some point and watches him light it, but he doesn't notice him.
I knew in that moment that was kind of like a Beacon of Gondor kind of shit, where like he lit it, and everyone's like, the beacons is lit, go, go, go.
Literally, that's what... I wonder if they were supposed to be the ones to do it, or if there was someone else kind of like who starts it, like who started the
right,
because they were all, I guess, supposed to drink poison and die.
I mean, maybe. I think that's personally the way they wanted to go.
Right.
I think the objective was mainly just to kill yourself and kill your guests.
Yeah.
Because I know towards the end, the wife is having some sort of regret about what she's doing.
Definitely.
Like she says specifically she doesn't want to do it this way, which means she was probably against violence to begin with, and that's why she went with poisoning, because in her mind that was a a more merciful death,
more humane way.
Yeah,
maybe?
more humane.
I love that Mitch mentions that he thought it was about vampires.
Ooh, yeah.
The whole time.
Because
his wife approaches them, she should have fangs. If that lady had fangs, I'd be convinced she was a vampire. Just the smiles and everything. These people are out for blood.
I love that you mentioned it.
Eden, she's coming out in this white dress.
I mean, and it's not just that builds up the tension in this movie. It's pretty much a lot of it's from Will's perspective.
Yeah.
Like him just like watching everyone do everything. His facial expressions when everyone's talking to him.
Yeah, definitely.
And then they kind of give you, like, at first it's just a dinner party. Everyone's acting a little overly polite and weird.
I love that. I love when Will is like, "Why is everybody being so fucking polite?"
Yeah, exactly. and it's strange. It should be strange, obviously, but I mean, of course, this is gaslighting the movie, so everyone says, "Will, you're the crazy one."
The whole time, and you question him towards the end of it too.
Yeah.
When fucking Choi shows up.
Yep.
Yeah.
After he confronts them, and you're just like, no, he can't be wrong.
So one of the guests comes to the party, and she's complaining that her boyfriend is late to the party, or he was supposed to be there already. So they're like, oh yeah, he's probably just doing something, running late. And then Will goes to check his phone because there's no service up there for the majority of the time. But he happens to get a bar somewhere and checks his voicemail. Receives voicemail from Choi saying that he's already arriving around like 7 before anyone got there.
And he's like, "Can you pick up dessert? I'm here early for once." And then that's when I was just like, "Yo, he's dead in the basement or something."
Yeah, me too. I was like, "Dang, they got him first."
Yeah,
he really does go up there and confronts them though. Where he's like, "Where's Choi?" and like fucking loses his shit. And
I was so happy at that moment.
Yeah, because he fucking is like, "Yo, you need to stop lying to yourself."
Ooh, but there was a moment before I wanted to talk about too. Is one of the other women who were there, and she left the party early.
Yeah,
and they were basically like, "No, stay, like sit down."
I'm pretty sure she got murdered by that dude.
Yeah, because then this John Wayne Gacy dude, who I guess was from the cult that showed up to the party too, goes out to walk her to her car, and Will's obviously suspicious, as he should be.
It's John Carroll Lynch as Pruitt.
Yeah, Pruitt.
Dude,
Pruitt. That dude is creepy.
Who is the hippie girl?
Hulking mass of like scariness right there.
Is it Claire or Gina?
She plays Sadie.
Sadie.
Oh, Sadie. Lindsay Burge as Sadie.
She looks like a cult member.
Yeah.
Like straight up. Like she looks like this was just her every day, just coming to work.
A little bit manic.
It was the bare feet for me.
Yeah.
It was the bare feet. That's true. Everybody but her had shoes.
That's the thing though. This is a dinner party for people who haven't seen each other in 2 years to get back with each other, and like.
And then here's these two random people that are from their
like even Will was like, how do you
support
know him?
group.
So the film is definitely a slow burn. I love that Mitch mentioned the vampire specifically because she was influenced by the movie Let the Right One In, which is about vampires.
Ah, interesting.
So the original one, not the remake that they made.
I mean, that makes sense why she would have all of these characters be acting as if they're looking hungry at everyone.
Yeah.
they prelude to this vampire thing a lot because they very much focus on the shot of right when Will gets there. They hit a coyote on the way up.
Yeah.
He has blood covered on him, and she like makes sure to get it off of him.
Yeah,
and you don't
true.
see that. As well as there's a part where everyone is trying to kind of do their own thing at the party, and Will comes across Sadie just manically trying to make like really big mouth gestures like she was going to eat something.
Yeah, they also, when Will is sort of having basically an anxiety attack at the table while they're eating dinner, they focus in on the facts that they are eating. Like they see like chewing, swallowing, the noise goes up too, which is one of the things that will happen when you're having an anxiety attack is that everything becomes overwhelming. And they focused in on that. So you do really get this idea that either they're going to eat their guests or that it's some sort of vampire.
Yeah, I don't know why I immediately went to vampire. It's just how people looked. They just looked thin and they looked smiley. And I'm just like, there's the what is it? The Ferengi. The Ferengi say.
What now?
The Ferengi.
The what now?
Say, the wider the smile, the sharper the knife.
Ooh.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
I wanted to bring
this up. That's some Star Trek nonsense.
I wanted to bring this up because you didn't catch it, and it made me feel very amateur of you. No offense.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
You're like, they're fucking vampires, and there's a shot where Will is talking to David, and you could 100% see David's reflection in the mirror.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I've been defeated.
Calling you out.
Calling me out. Yeah, no, all right. So, I mean, I just kind of expected something crazy and fantastical to happen, which is why I kept throwing my vampire predictions at the movie the whole time.
Justine and I watched it together, and we really could not figure out what was going to happen. So I do enjoy that the last 30 minutes or so is just a wild ride because I think we're all a fan of slower movies. Like the slow burn is not really a thing that bothers you. But I know that if like your everyday moviegoer is going to go watch it, they're like, this is too long. I don't want to sit through that. And it's like, so this is what it's really getting at is the tension and the stressors that get to some of these people, and this one deals with really big ones. So what do you guys think it says about like anxiety and stress and grief? Like he has to deal with the loss of his child.
One thing is that the anxiety that one person experiences is very unique and personal to themselves, and no two people experience anxiety the same way. And so you have this character, Will, who's anxious the whole time, noticing the signs and trying to convey this to other people, and everyone around him like, no, dude, you're just being too tense. Like, chill out. It's not a big deal.
They're like, we got to just drink this wine. You're being paranoid.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think that's why the slow burn approach to a movie like this is so effective. Is because you need to have that time to kind of build up to everything. And then you have that, those last 30 minutes, which is our big climax. We've been building all the way up to this, to the bloodbath at the end, which we're all expecting.
It feels something. It feels deserved and worth it, though. To
definitely
endure that hour.
Yeah, it changes the genre, too. If they had started... If the dinner had gone bad, like, I don't know, halfway or even before halfway, it would have turned into like a slasher film.
Well, they didn't even get to the actual dinner until the last like 30 minutes.
Right, yeah. They spent a lot of time. I didn't even know they were going to have like a full dinner until they
I
called
thought
them
they
upstairs.
were all just hanging out.
Because we pointed it out, there's no cooking aside from her doing like one thing in a pan. But like they don't even show like people helping them. They just somehow had this food set up top, which is ironically the only thing I questioned in this film. Was just like, what do you mean you didn't have like chefs there?
It's because you're like, that would have been cold as fuck.
Yeah, you want to eat some cold fucking meat and whatever else they had there. It was literally just meat and bread.
And there's some carrots.
some red meat. It's that's true. They had fucking carrots.
Right, and they looked very bad.
Yeah.
We were pointed out though that Logan Marshall Green, the character that plays Will, conveys so much emotion with his face that you could just feel the tension in the air. He looks insane. He looks like he's like fucking having a breakdown, and his girlfriend Kira doesn't want to leave either. She's like, "No, it'll be all right." And then the catalyst is not only that video, but the game they play, where they start going around and telling people what they want.
Oh, shit.
Where the dude tells them about how he just murdered his wife.
Yeah, no surprise that John Wayne Gacy just, like, manhandled his wife.
He said he hit her so hard that she just buckled under her own weight and then hit her head on something and then just died because of head trauma. And everybody's like, somebody even goes, "What the fuck?" after he finishes his story.
How poetic is it that he's just beaten to death with something?
Also,
as well?
Yeah.
strong
it was
ass
from
wine
head
bottle.
trauma. Yes, shout out to Will's girlfriend for smacking some dude over the head.
Okay, that death scene was very effective because I felt like he was actually getting murdered. Like he was just like, oh, like
groaning
as he's getting
that was
hit.
probably one of the more chilling parts, is that he kept trying to get up and fight back. Like he was not going to go down unless you killed him.
The other chick, the Sadie, she like 100%. You could tell that she's there to fug, man.
Oh yeah,
Sadie.
Yeah,
she even tried to come on to Will at some point.
That was very awkward.
I felt like that was a part of her plan. Was to like hook up with him and then just kill herself, and then it wouldn't matter because it didn't, like, if he has a girlfriend or not. But then it just completely backfires because he's like, "I don't know you," and just shuts her down. And she's like, "Oh, okay." And then from then on, it looks like she's personally offended about him denying
She's
her.
like, the guys at the retreat do this all the time. I could make you like me.
Right. That was okay. So that ended up being way creepier than I think it should have been for that moment, because she's like, "Well, I can make you like me," and we were like, "Whoa." I think you need to like relax.
Interesting role
Just as
reversal
creepy, though,
too,
Abby.
because you typically wouldn't
True.
see female characters in such an aggressively, like, sexually dominant role, where like, yeah, I'm the one making the decisions.
Yeah, they were definitely pushing. I think even Sadie does this whole spiel about how she just loves everybody.
Yeah.
Oh god, that was like so awkward to fucking
The most
watch.
awkward thing.
She's like, "I know I just barely met you, but I love all of you, and I need to tell you this." And she just looks so manic.
I appreciated how they treated Will's anxiety and how it builds through the film, and the sort of like visuals and auditory things that he's getting, because they really make you root for him through the whole film. Like, he is the character where you're like, he's not crazy, like something is going on, and you really are on his side up until you see Choi arrive and you're like, oh dang, maybe he is crazy.
Right.
Something that was really interesting too here is the play on time. There's a lot of moments when he's starting to figure things out that everything sort of slows down.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like that's very accurate to how a lot of times anxiety can go, as you start to hyper focus on certain details and then everything else fades away.
Also, a really real perspective on grief and how you deal with it, and how at some point there are things that people, they just can't help you with. And he even tells his girlfriend, he's like, "I love you, but you can't help me with what's going on." He's like, my son's dead. Where do I put that?
And then also the inclusion of the flashbacks in certain areas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So you
like
have
the office that used to be his son's room.
Was it that? I thought he went into the office. I thought the room was still...
Yeah, he went into the office, but he saw it as his son's room.
Oh, I see. Okay. Then, yeah, I misunderstood that section there. But, yeah, you know, having to go to the same spaces where you need
I
someone.
didn't pick up on that detail either, because I thought he just went to go see his son's room. And I'm like, oh, they just left it the way that it's always been.
Yeah, I thought they left it unchanged.
But now Justine's making me know that
Now
it's actually an office and it's a flashback.
The only fun thing I know that happened on set was that Logan Marshall Green wanted to put something nice in the movie for Kusama, so all the letter blocks that are on the floor spell Kusama's name. That he like made him write her name in that.
I didn't even notice that. I should go look at it.
It's really fun.
That's sweet.
Yeah, right. What a nice guy. But for real though, he does have these flashbacks. It must be hard for someone to not only lose their son, but then their wife, and then their home, and to come back in that, and after so long I'm guessing he's a recovering alcoholic too.
Probably.
Yeah, he was
only
trying
drinks
to
water.
he was trying to avoid drinking through the film, and then they're like really insistent on that. So they have a lot of social interactions between people that a lot of people end up encountering, which is the idea of the sobriety.
Now that you mentioned the wine and how they're encouraging everyone to drink, and then they even brought out the Coke for that one girl.
So
it ties into sort of that cult idea about getting people in a certain mind state to make them more pliable and more vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a part of it. Was there's always this rhetoric that happens in a group where they're trying to take control of people that involves something along the lines of, if you do this, then you will be free of whatever pain that you have. And it's sort of an avoidance of it. And Will even mentioned it to some people where he's like, no, you're trying to erase what happened instead of accepting whatever pain or trauma that's happening to you.
And this is similar to why a lot of people fall into substance abuse, is
right,
because they're trying to dull some sort of their psyche pain that they're experiencing, whether it's trauma, depression, anger, resentment. They cover it up with drugs or drinks, and in the same way the cult functions the same way, is they're offering a solution
with community.
Yeah, with community.
And then finally we have the climax of the film where they basically are going to drink the punch. And then
so great.
The Kool-Aid.
The Kool-Aid. And the wife even has this moment. It was like, really look at each other's faces. And one girl drinks it, and then fucking Will just snaps. And that's the moment you're like, yeah!
He just knocks the glasses out of their hand. Don't drink it.
I think we all knew as soon as they bring out some mysterious liquid.
Oh, and it wasn't in a bottle either.
Yeah, it was in its own like little punch bowl.
Ooh, that's true. It really was. It was like a special
if they
brew.
had offered me champagne from a bottle, I wouldn't have thought twice about it. But the fact that it was a pre-made drink that's being served in these fancy glasses, there's something significant about that specific drink. And it happened to tie straight into the whole Heaven's Gate. I think it was Heaven's Gate, right? With the drink the Kool-Aid.
I think so. Or wasn't it the one with the comet? Or that's the same one.
Yeah.
That's the same one.
Heaven's
Yeah.
Gate.
Yeah, you're right. Can you imagine being the dude that they said had to stay behind and like make an archive of all of their stuff? So that dude stayed behind, saw all these people kill themselves, and then decided to keep making archives of like all of their stuff. So he was just like sitting at a computer with all of this stuff and it's like left a record for everybody, which is so fucked.
Oh, the Jonestown Massacre.
Oh, that was the one?
From November 18th, 1978.
I think there were multiples that did make use of the poison.
Yeah.
I know Heaven's Gate did some sort of poisoning, and then Jonestown did, but not everybody wanted... Okay, Jonestown was pretty fucking brutal, because a lot of people did, and then when people started seeing people dying, they were like, I don't want to do this anymore, and tried to run out, and so in response... Who's the leader for that cult? I forget his name.
I could look it up, but continue.
Basically, he gets all of his like superiors, left-hand men to go and start shooting the people that are trying to escape.
Yikes.
So it turned into a super bloody massacre, which actually is probably more representative of how this film went, because he wanted it to be a peaceful ending. He wanted them to just poison themselves and die, you know, no hassle really. And that's what they wanted in this time as well, is they wanted to poison them and just go peacefully. But they had their plan B, which was shooting and stabbing everybody.
So the cult member or leader that you're talking about is Jim Jones.
Jim Jones,
Yep.
yeah.
Hence why it's known as Jonestown unofficially.
Yeah.
It's a derogatory term for the town now.
Ooh, that sucks.
Yeah.
I do feel like for the film and for we get to see a video of the idea that this guy has about the cult they're joining and what they're supposed to be feeling. I do think that they misunderstood what he was trying to tell them as far as like how they're supposed to feel about that pain that they're experiencing. Like I think in their minds, they were like, yeah, obviously we need to kill ourselves and then we won't feel pain anymore. But like the point that he makes in the video, which is interesting because now you're like some of it makes sense where he's saying, oh no, what he was saying is you don't need to be afraid of that moment of when you actually get to the point that you're dying, but it's unclear on whether or not he made people drink poison to kill themselves, or if the woman in the video was already dying.
Yeah, or if the people in the cult are just misinterpreting the actual lesson.
The lesson of what he's telling them, and so they're like, obviously we need to end all of these people's pain by killing them. When I don't think that was the point of it to begin with.
What I do give props on is that they didn't have like a sanctuary that they called out, because usually cult films would be like, we have to go to sanctuary, or we have to get to such and such, whatever their version of heaven is.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
I did also like that the wife has a lot of regret at the end of it, but I didn't understand why she shot herself in the stomach though.
I thought she was gonna go for the brain.
You know, because that's just like you're gonna suffer at that point.
I think that was the point, is that she wanted to suffer because she had been denying this pain and this grief that she had for her child.
Dang, she even
and now
shoots
she's
herself in the
gone and
stomach
caused
over it.
suffering for all of these people. And then she was like, yeah, I want a slow bleed out death by shooting myself in the stomach because I deserve to suffer.
Yo, low key, I would have left her ass in the house, not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
But she's like, can you take me outside? No, fuck no. You're gonna stay in the house.
That's symbolic though, because she's actually shooting her stomach where her son was.
Right.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Which was sort of the source of all of this in the first place, is she was getting over the grief of her son.
Ooh.
Went and joined this cult.
She also gets blood all over her hands, so the
Yeah.
literal blood on your hands analogy happens too.
And to talk about your point, I would have left her there too. I would have given her to the bird.
Hey, fucking staying on the floor.
But the gay guy made it.
Yeah,
True.
the gay guy, the black girl, and the guy who knew what was going on the whole time actually made it out of the film. Well, but did they?
Yeah.
Because that's where the ending comes in, which is probably one of the more chilling parts of the movie.
It's a larger conspiracy.
Yeah, it wasn't just an isolated incident. You get outside, and then all of a sudden you hear the screaming, you hear the helicopters.
Gunshots.
You hear gunshots, you hear police sirens everywhere, and you look out into the hills and you see a dozen little red lights.
This is like, what is it, Us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It gave me major Us vibes.
Because you find out that, there's doppelgangers of everybody who are killing their other versions of themselves, which is also something that we've explored before. So
this is what makes good horror, though, is like this vagueness where not every single thing is blatantly explained to you or discussed. You kind of put pieces together and you let your imagination kind of dig deep into how horrible this could actually be. Like, what is the level of terrible that's going on here? Yeah.
Well,
so go ahead.
I wanted to bring it up, but the thing is, they even mention it in the before they play the video, that the invitation is a group of thousands of people within New York, L.A., Montreal, etc., etc. So this is just the West Hollywood version.
Right.
This is just the West
This
Hollywood
has to have
branch,
happened in a lot of places. And so within that universe they've created in the film, a lot of people probably died on that day.
You know, why is it always the rich, affluent people that be doing some shit like this?
They're usually the ones that go to Mexico to join a cult.
It's called self-healing. No,
God.
I mean, I guess.
how much are you paying them? I don't want to talk about it.
So did the ending pay off for you then? Do you guys feel like that was a really good way to end it?
I felt like it was worth it for that ending shot for sure.
What do you think? Why a red lantern? Like, why do you think she chose that? What is the significance of a red lantern?
Well, Justine brought it up when we talked about it a couple days ago. She thought it symbolized a spirit leaving prior, but then when we know it is a beacon, it kind of gets a different meaning to it.
Mm-hmm. Some sort of like unifying thing in a way, because I think that was sort of the goal of killing everybody, is they would be unified in heaven. But definitely a lot of times when we light lights, it's to guide spirits to a certain place. And so
you're thinking it's more of like a nice offering for your guests
Yeah.
before you do this vile thing.
And a way to connect all of these deaths together and unify them. It's sort of like their ritual send-off thing. Sending them to the right place.
Dang. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of unifies the cult, and it makes it. This is bigger than just this group of people. Is what it really does. It's showing you the scale of how big this cult has grown, and how, oh shit, it's all everywhere around me now. Oh no, it's sort of deal.
I do also want to point out that although Karen Kusama is like not Chinese, I believe she's Japanese. There is this idea of the red lantern in certain Asian cultures, which usually represents the like wealth, the like affluence. Like they'll usually have those in really rich homes, and so this could have been a sign that all of the people who were involved were in fact all the people in the hills who are rich.
I mean, I think that also ties into a lot of conspiracies. I wouldn't even say they're conspiracies at this point, about global elites and wealthy, affluent people being involved in some sort of cult that's allowing them to achieve this certain status. So I think this is sort of a call to that, which is probably a part of the reason why it flopped, is because not a lot of people were aware of this sort of culture that exists within a lot of these communities, like the Hollywood community. bankers community, anywhere that is in control of a lot of distribution, a lot of money.
It's not until like the later years, like 2019 plus, where people are like, wait, this shit doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
And so like I feel like
you start looking into things and you start to notice there's
right,
a lot of strange things that
people
are
doing
happening.
research now.
Yeah.
Which is like super cool to see.
And you can do a minor amount of research and come to an interesting conclusion. Well, maybe not a full conclusion, but it'll lead you down a rabbit hole for sure.
So do you think if this movie would have come out like say like I don't know, more recently, it kind of probably would have done better?
Yeah, like I know 2020 wasn't a good year for movies, obviously, because no one could go to the theaters, but I think if it had come around that time and actually had like a release on a lot of major streaming services like Netflix, HBO, like I think it would have gotten a much bigger revenue than what it did. I think a lot more people would be interested in something like this.
I agree.
Also, given the climate that people were in, everyone was in a lot of panic and a lot of fear, and I think they could find a lot of things to relate to in this movie, because this is gaslighting and anxiety, the movie, which I feel like a lot of people have been experiencing the last few years.
Yeah, fuck.
Oh yeah, especially if you're believing the whole time that what you believe is right, and then you have all the people be like, no, that's not correct. And we of course have the most prominent example of this in our politics, where both sides of whatever Democrat Republican thinks that they're right about something, when the reality is that you need to be somewhere more in the middle.
And there's a lot of unifying evils that you see within these communities.
Yeah, for real.
I mean, just think about what's going along with the Ghislaine Maxwell trial.
Oh yeah.
And all of the really prominent figures she's been calling out as being involved in this conspiracy, which I don't think we can even call it a conspiracy at this point.
No, legit. It's the thing that happened.
Legit. Crimes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Right.
that's kind of the wild part of it too, is that we've basically confirmed that there were several rich people who were involved with the sex trafficking ring,
including 2 notable presidents.
Yeah, well, I'm really not surprised about the presidents, but
Yeah, me either. We've been knowing that.
yeah,
but
we've kind of been knowing stuff like that, but now it's like, what do you do with that info, and if it's gonna get buried, like usually they do with these stories?
I hope it's big enough that they can't bury it at this point.
Yeah,
I hope
because
the
they've had
monster's
enough.
gotten too big.
I kind of think that's where it's at this point. They're doing
'Cause
what
they
they
tried-
can, but
I
it's
mean,
not gonna work.
Not to be all tinfoil hat, but I mean, they tried to subdue it with Jeffrey.
Yeah,
When obviously, I don't know,
Murdered in his
he
cell.
killed himself, quote unquote, but it's way too convenient for him to die.
Well, everyone's always like, if this girl quote unquote suicides, yeah, I'm
yeah,
riding. I'm riding in the
literally,
streets.
yeah. If we find out that she's dead in the next couple of days, that'll be very disturbing for all of us to know that that was going to happen. My favorite conspiracy theory, quote unquote conspiracy theory, is whether or not the Clintons are involved. A lot of killings.
I believe it.
Easily one of my favorite ones, because there's just so much.
Family.
Yeah,
but it just goes to show that there is this secret life of people that hold these positions of power,
Right.
and a lot of it can be led to speculation, but a lot of it is solidified in fact and evidence now, that there is this sort of cult-like community that exists within the political world.
Rituals are always being cast.
Yeah.
all right. So,
Did you guys have a favorite scene?
damn you, motherfucker!
New season, baby, let's go.
tell me your favorite fucking scene.
Oh shit. Okay. Why are you guys looking at me?
Because you gotta have one
Yeah.
ready.
Now
after that.
Now I feel
Yeah,
like.
you called.
now
Yeah,
I
you
feel like
called out
Will.
John.
Yeah.
And now we're all looking at you.
Yeah, you got it.
I think my favorite scene is when he finally gets the call or the voicemail from Troy, and he goes upstairs. He's like, "So where's Troy, huh? Where the fuck is he?"
Literally does
Like,
not want to go.
And he's like, "Why are we all acting so fucking polite?" I was like, "Yo, this guy's going off right now. I love it." It was just a great payoff for a lot of tension and anxiety, where I was just like, "Can someone fucking say something, please?" And he just took it and ran with it.
It's tough for me to pick a favorite scene because I feel like it was
Yeah.
all so like condensed that a lot of it is like these scenes are like build up scenes.
Right.
These scenes are here to show you anxiety. I mean, I like a lot of my favorite parts I think are usually when Will is like flashing back to his past. So we get to learn a little bit more of what he's going through, why is he acting the way that he is, because if you didn't have any of that, then he might just be seen as the crazy guy until more information is given to the viewers. So, yeah, a lot of the flashback scenes are probably some of my favorites because you really get that feeling of, I don't know, anxiety, grief,
Yeah,
depression.
I have a difficult time picking a scene too, because I did really like the flashbacks and how they tied into his personal experience of the house that he's in now. But I think probably one of my favorite moments was when they bring out the Kool-Aid, because I think that was sort of like the boiling point. Like there were some hints and suspicious things before that were obviously suspicious, but I think bringing out that drink was sort of like, that was the symbol that he was looking for. That was the sign to know that this is not okay, because we all know drink the Kool-Aid or don't drink the Kool-Aid. That's something that's very culturally recognized, because the massacres that occurred in that way were absolutely horrible, not something you could easily forget. But as soon as you see that, you're like, no, there's something wrong here. And then everything just explodes after that. It was a really great moment, because all of that anxiety was finally resolved in a way. I mean, of course, there's still anxiety while someone's trying to kill you, but you just know that you're not crazy in that point. You know that there is something wrong.
Kusama mentions that a big theme of the movie was this idea that people are out to get you, they're going to hurt you some way and somehow, and that is the main idea or the main feeling behind anxiety. Sometimes people get anxiety for no reason other than you think something bad is going to happen, but you don't know what, and you have to be prepared for it. And so the scenes where Will is experiencing his anxiety at the table or any other place is probably one of the most realistic views you've gotten in film, because everything becomes overwhelming. Things are loud. You can hardly handle any of the like sensory things that are coming into you. And that is like the typical like signifier of the overload, is something like that. And he's also dealing with some heavy grief from losing his child, so that
and
all works really
well. In the
well.
home where he raised that child.
Yeah, he's having to revisit his trauma, and they do it in this way where you go with him, and so that's why you end up kind of pairing up with him in the movie, being like, you understand what he's going through. So those moments work really well. When he is like observing what's going on, I feel like everybody kind of has these moments sometimes where you think you're like figuring things out, but
is that
no
your
one
favorite
else.
Moment?
Yeah, I think his the quiet moments with him are my favorites, because these are moments like when you want to tell people things but they don't believe you, and this really gets into the idea of the gaslighting portion of the film, which is essentially that everybody thinks that he is experiencing his grief and is not understanding what's going on around him. And I think at one point he even tells the husband, he's like, don't patronize me, like, you know, I'm not like just some person who's damaged and like you're gonna tell me like everything's gonna be okay. Because they keep telling him that, like, oh, everything's gonna be fine, it's gonna be okay, and then it literally isn't towards the end of the film. And then he gets sort of like this it's like a small sense of justice where you're like, yes, he is actually not crazy and is the only sane person in this house. So to see him freak out on them was also really funny, because you confront, like, this is sort of confronting the idea of the like politics that comes around people's behavior around somebody who's dealt with trauma, where they treat them very delicately, where they like try to approach someone and be like, oh, hey, I know like you're sad, and like they don't want to approach the real conversation that Will does with his girlfriend, where he's like, I don't think anybody's gonna help me with these kinds of things. So I think a lot of it came from Kusama's script, like the script her husband wrote, and also the way that she told them to act around each other. So really a good piece for Will, and for the guy who did it, Logan Marshall Green. This is like one of his best movies, I think, for how he displayed how you should be feeling in these moments. And then the soundscape is amazing while you're listening to it. You hardly notice that there is like music or anything, but they put in moments that get you tense when you're watching it, and that's a really good addition to what you're watching. So I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Rating?
I'd probably give it like a 9. It's pretty highly rated, I think. The only thing that didn't make it perfect was that I feel like there was stuff that was just a bit too vague, and I would like to know more about it, but that's just a personal thing.
I also want to give it a 9. I don't know, it's kind of a 10 in my mind, but there's still something, I can't quite put my finger on it, that just seems almost unsatisfying. I think I just wanted more of a personal connection with some of the characters. I think maybe that would have added the extra point, but also I do appreciate the vagueness and how disconnected you kind of are from everybody. You're more involved in the situation and the feeling of what's going on.
You're kind of a watcher. Like, you really aren't, you don't get any backstory for any of the other characters.
Yeah, and that's something that makes it even more anxiety ridden, is that you
are
them. Sort of, you're on the outside looking in, you're a voyeur in this situation.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do about anything. And maybe you know what's going on, or you can put together the pieces because you have a broader perspective, but what you say and what you think doesn't matter.
Yeah, hit my vape really quick. So I'm leaning on like a 7.5 or an 8 for this one. Not because I don't think that it does everything well, but like Justine was saying, there's just something, and I can't put my finger on it, but there's just something missing from the movie. There's something that it needs. Maybe it's a little bit more character development on the friends and the connection that they have. Because at a certain point, you kind of don't care that they're dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
exactly.
You kind of
like
don't.
if I had known this is your buddy from college or you guys went to high school together, I've been like, oh wow, that sucks that he's dead now.
Yeah, you have no flashbacks besides the one that Will experiences about the son's death during that day.
And at the very end, you get the little connection with the gay friend where they hug it out, and you're like, that's like the only like significantly really friendly thing I've seen them done, other than like the conversation they have a little earlier where he's like, dude, what's going on, man? Everything here is fine. It's not, but you know, that's kind of why. But I really did like the movie though a lot. So.
This was directed by Kusama, so 2 out of 10. No, no. I'm going to give this a solid 8.5 to 9.
Nice.
I think what is presented is really strong. I love the soundtrack and the original score that they have for this movie. The tension is right, and the cinematography is excellent. There were no shots that I felt were like kind of wasted, except this is the one point, and John even talked about the vagueness of like some certain scenes. But I kind of like it, so it kind of gives it that boost for me from an 8.5 to a 9. We don't see how the kid dies from a baseball bat.
Well, so Kusama's been noted on several interviews that she expects people who are watching things to be smart enough to put together what she's put on the screen.
That's asking for a lot.
And people have said, you know, that's expecting a lot from people who do not do what she does, which is making film and analyzing stuff. So if you show a person who just watches movies for entertainment and no other reason, sometimes things like this will get missed. And so it ends up being a film that they're not sure about. Also, the fact that most people who are teaching how to make film in recent days, or the ones that I've experienced, they don't like longer stories. They don't like things that are very clear. And if you ever propose something that's vague, it usually is met with people who are like, no, I don't want it to be this way.
They want concrete details.
They want details, or they want it to end a certain way, where like even her ending is vague. You don't know if they escaped that neighborhood.
No, that's the thing. They could be out of the house, but who says that someone from another house can't get them? Yeah,
and so you get these kinds of ideas where she wanted it to be like that, because even the film that she got influenced from, Let the Right One In, is a very terrible, sad ending. And for that, so there's not really any sort of resolution, and she wanted it that way because these are the emotions that you deal with, and most of the time you don't ever get rid of them.
And it's good that it doesn't warrant a sequel.
True, yeah, I'm glad.
I'm glad it ends on that.
Well, I feel like somebody would try, but she wouldn't let it happen.
Yeah, it doesn't need it.
It's meant to be a standalone.
It's a very well-wrapped movie.
Definitely.
So this is going to be it. Get your coats and hats. We're going to be heading out.
Thank you for listening tonight.
Oh, yeah. I got my shoes.
I got my sandals. I got my scarf.
So this is the start of the new season, so get ready for more content from all of us. But who are we? We are Bringing Down the Grindhouse, a podcast where we just discuss horror in media. If you would like to support us, check out our Patreon, where for $2 a month, we recommend a piece of horror media, as well as get access to all of our bonus content and other shows. Make sure to check out our Teespring, where we have merch, us in chibi form, featured on t-shirts as well as cups.
Awesome.
Also, make sure to check out the socials, the Facebooks, the Twitters, and the Instagrams. Follow us on there and leave a comment or tell us what you think. Fight with us. Maybe wish us a happy new year. We're lonely.
Please.
And I think that's basically it, right?
Yep.
We're just gonna have newer stuff coming out, so expect a wider range of content to be like coming down in the pipeline.
We got more music episodes, video game episodes, book episodes. We got TV series. We got anime.
Yeah, we got all kinds of shit to talk about, and it's really cool to start the new season off right. And that's basically it. Give us a follow on Spotify or Apple Podcasts so you will be notified when this new shit drops.
Oh, yeah. Also, leave us a review anywhere you can, which usually means Apple Podcasts.
Yeah.
Because it helps us get viewed more easily, and it's always good to have a higher rating.
Yeah. We love you guys.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year 2022.
I'm Mitch.
I'm Murr.
I'm Justine.
And I'm Jonathan. Thank you.